Thursday's section of our lesson says that we need to read Psalm 18, verse 27. And that says, "You save the humble, but bring low those whose eyes are haughty." In this week's lesson, there are false prophets who try to persuade the people of God to minimize their need for discipline and subvert God's plans for their growth. Their message was popular and easier to receive than Jeremiah's, but completely untrue. So sometimes we have to be very careful about giving in and listening to the thing that we want to hear, right? There's a particular cognitive bias um, that they use to explain that. We are, as people, very willing to give credence and to listen and to believe things that we really want, right? But on the flip side, on the other side, it can be completely untrue. Identify now some of the voices that are quote unquote false prophets in your life. Voices that urge you to take the easy way instead of the right way. There's a very popular Bible passage that says, "Narrow is the way that leads to heaven," right? That narrow way versus the broad way that leads to destruction. Maybe you have a close friend who struggles with honesty, or you find yourself wrestling with habits or temptations that derail your focus on Christ. Measure those voices against the promise of God in this week's key text and choose firmly to walk with God, even though the future may seem unpleasant. Discover for yourself that God's promise is sure. Let's go back to the key text here so that we have that one fresh in our mind. So the key text says, "This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place." Remember, back to this place. They hadn't left yet. Okay? Back to this place. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Well, let's make sure that we are able to identify these false prophets in our lives as we go through today.